All right, welcome back to another episode of Course of Action. I'm your host, Jeff Clark, and I have a wonderful co host today, my son, Hayden Clark, who's in broadcasting production in school. I thought this would be a perfect opportunity to bring him on because the author we have on today, Charles Hack, is the author of Into Darkness, a space warfare group novel, and I just knew this was going to be perfect. The stars were going to align. Hayden was going to love this book, and he did. So I said, hey, got a great idea. Charles was down with it. And Charles, I appreciate you so much, man. Welcome.
Yes. Oh, it's exciting to be here, and glad that Hayden could be with us as well. That's exciting.
Yeah, we were working out some technical difficulties and trying to figure out how to make this work. And we finally just said, hey, go to grandma's house and log on to the computer there and just pull it as a guest here. And we'll just do it like that because it wasn't the double microphone, same camera. We should have tested it a little earlier, like maybe a couple of days ago. But it's working right now, and we got them live. So good. So let's talk about Charles Hack. Charles Hack is a pen name for what you're doing because you've been in ministry.
Yes, that's right. We, as in my wife and I, we wrestled around with the idea for a while about, do I stick with my given name, my legal name, or do we do something different? And we decided in the end, my real name, Keller Hackbush, is actually complicated.
Yeah.
So when you tell somebody, hey, go find that book by Hackbush, nobody remembers that. They can't spell it. So Charles, my middle name, Hack, we just abbreviate or just cut it short. And we actually, as a little backstory, playing basketball in high school, my brother and I, we were always called the Hacks and Hack Attack and all this stuff. So it's just kind of a family nickname as well. So we just decided to do that. It just provides a little bit of separation with the ministry because, people might be searching online for the book and land on my my ministry pages and stuff and be confused.
Sure. So what made you turn to ministry? Because you were an electrical engineer for a long time, right?
That's right. Yeah. So I actually was engineering, went to college in Nevada and got my engineering degree. And somewhere around college, just felt the call to faith, really. And in coming to faith, kind of grew up in a family with no faith, really. Was the first believer in my family. And over time, just through my Bible studies and just what God did in my life, led me towards ministry. And it was just a slow burn from starting to teach and counsel and things to part-time ministry to eventually full-time. I retired from engineering and went full-time in the ministry a few years ago.
Awesome. So you have a master's in theology. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's actually, yeah.
Hayden, it's kind of listen up to how he's going to break this down. What is theology?
So theology is, in the most basic form, just the study of God. It's the academic study of God, rooted in, primarily we're talking Christian doctrines, biblical doctrines, and it's the study of God. But it's broken into many different topics, of course, and different specialties. My specialty is in what's called systematic theology, which is more of deeper sort of historical doctrines with historical debate.
What made you choose that?
There were 4 tracks in the program I went to. It was a Baptist seminary that I was involved with, and this one had the most immediate benefit to the teaching that I was doing, and we saw, as the other pastors that I serve with here, we agreed that systematic stuff would be the most beneficial immediately for the teaching, rather than historic or some of the language stuff that wasn't as immediately applicable.
Okay. So when did you think about writing? When did you say I want to start?
Yeah. I love that question, actually, because writing, I'm a huge reader. I from high school, thriller novels, adventure novels, that was a big thing for me. And sometime around college, no, it was right after I graduated college. It was when my daughter was born. She's 19 now. And I would get up early in the morning and I would write before work. And so it was about 19 years ago I started. And I think it was, as with so many others, I think I heard Matt Scott the other day. I was listening to his podcast the interview you did with him. And he said, I could do this better, or at least I want to do this. and so he started writing, and that basically is what got me to 19 years ago.
So you just saw enough stuff and said, I could take a swing at this and maybe do a better product. And
yeah.
So where did you come up with the idea for the space warfare group?
Yeah, it was really an accident. And, in some regard, I don't even know how I got myself into this corner, because I always wanted to write political military thrillers. But I was working on one, and I got in a corner. I know you're working on a book as well, and you get into these plot corners sometimes.
Yep.
And I just sort of was discouraged. So I grabbed the backstory that I was developing about the military aspect of this character, and there was this character in there that is now Mac in the book, the main protagonist, and he was just sort of a side character. And I took him and I, for whatever reason, put him in space and started writing about him as like a space version, a far future version. And part of me was thinking, right to market, sci-fi, military sci-fi is very popular. Maybe I could make a go at it. And I did. And it was amazing, because I have been writing very fast and furiously since I took him off Earth and put him out in space.
Yeah, because the sci-fi thing is very interesting. It's not, well, I guess I don't see it a lot nowadays, but I don't look either.
Yeah.
But I really liked it, and I say this with all due respect, as a compliment. To me, it was like the perfect mixture of Halo and Call of Duty.
Yeah, that's a great, Halo is a great comparison. I'm not much of a video game player myself, but my son is, and he loves Halo, and there's some inspiration there, of course. And for me, really, the book, I've described this in other places. The book is really a political conspiracy military thriller. It just happens to be in space. So it's not really a sci-fi novel, which probably makes people, makes their heads spin, because it happens in space. There's a spaceship on the cover, but I even wrote, if you remember, I wrote in a letter to the reader at the beginning to just let everybody know, like, hey, there's really no science here. So don't send me a bunch of emails, tell me how I got, things wrong. Like, yeah, it's more fantasy than anything.
Yeah, it's fiction. It's made up.
Yeah.
It's not going to be solid. So I want to bring my special guest on, our special co-host, giving him the title of co-host.
Yeah.
My son Hayden, and I told you this offline. Now I'm going to say it on air. I started reading your book, and I was getting into it, and then I thought, this is the perfect opportunity to get my son Hayden, who's in broadcasting in school. You can take it as a class now. And he's been doing play-by-play for football games, and doing some interviews with the coaches and some other play-by-play for like volleyball and basketball, and really
awesome.
He wants to do broadcasting.
Yeah.
You're going to see him on Monday Night Football in about 20 years.
Is that high school level? Is that high school? Or it is high school? Wow, that's really cool. That's a great program. Yeah.
Incredible program. They have some really good equipment. You can stream the football games live on their YouTube on Friday nights, and you can hear them. It's really cool. And I started reading this book, and it reminded me of Halo. And Hayden is a Halo junkie and has been forever. And I said, this is perfect for him. I felt bad, because I was like, I don't want to pass off the book. Like, I don't want to read it, because I do.
Yeah.
But I just knew if I give it to him and give him the task of, hey, read this, come up with some questions, and co-host with me, it was just going to blow the world up. And I was right, wasn't I, Hayden?
Yeah, you really were. It was a really good book.
Yep.
So awesome.
He really enjoyed it. And he has some questions for you. So we're going to kind of go back and forth a little bit. I'm going to facilitate. And he's going to ask you about the book a little bit, about the future.
Okay.
And, we're just going to kind of take it easy and get into the Darkness, which is Charles Hack's first book, showing it live right here on the screen. It's got a very cool cover. and we're going to find out more about the Space Warfare Group and Into the Darkness right now. So Hayden, take it away for the first question, bud.
I just wanted to start by asking how you're doing today.
I'm doing great, actually. Thanks for asking. I've had some health issues recently, and today is a pretty good day, so I'm pleased with that.
Well, I'm glad it was a lot better.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say I really do enjoy this book. I thought it was a very good book. I don't read a whole lot. I used to quite a bit, but this is one of those books that I had a hard time putting down at some points that I really had a good time reading. I just wanted to start by asking, he kind of asked this question a little bit just a few minutes ago, but what material did you use as building blocks to the story? Because when I was reading through it, it really reminded me of Halo, Star Wars, and a little bit of Call of Duty sprinkled in.
Yeah. All those things are influences. So, really there's a little bit of Halo influence because I'd watch my son Ashton, who's actually he's just about to turn 17 in a couple weeks, so you guys are about the same age, and he so I would see it on the screen, so there's some influence there. Star Wars is a huge influence on me as a child of the 80s, and but more than that, it was those sorts of things that were mixed in with my love for all things military. Even though I'm not a veteran, I did not go into the military. I love the military, the books, the biographies. I mean, I eat up the podcasts, the nonfiction books, the biographies, especially modern warfare stuff. Has been a huge influence. And then I read all the usual guys, the Tom Clancy's and Vince Flynn and Andrews and Wilson and all those guys. And so it really is just everything that I love sort of mixed together in one place, and it just kind of happened. And so that's sort of how it came about.
Charles, I had Andrews and Wilson on this morning, for a recording.
I couldn't hear that at all.
Oh, my bad. I muted myself. Gonna have to edit that.
Yeah, I missed it too.
Charles, I had Andrews and Wilson on this morning.
You did?
I had him on for an episode. It's going to be the first episode coming out next season on 1 November. So I got to talk to him about Darkfall. Have you read their Shepherd series?
Yes. So I did read Darkfall. I actually was blessed with a signed copy from Mr. Wilson. He sent it to me. And I don't own or I haven't read Dark Angel yet, but it's on my short list. It's like the next couple books I read it for sure. I'm excited about it. Yeah, I'm actually really excited about what those guys are doing.
Yeah, they told me some secrets about Darkfall that is really gonna. I'm excited for it now. Like it's gonna be good. But yeah, I had to throw it in there. So Hayden, go ahead, take it away.
So as I was saying, I really did find a lot of Star Wars and Halo in that. I'm a big Star Wars fan too. I love Star Wars more than anything in fiction. I really liked the blend of that mixed with the shrouded mystery of what's really going on throughout the story for Mac and his crew. I liked the idea of I believe it's the ambassador was part of what you would call the antagonist, and he was kind of a bad guy towards the end, as you find out. I wanted to ask, how will Mac's character be expanded in the future? I believe there will be future books.
Yeah, so I'm working on book 2 currently. I'm about about close to 30% in. There's a book coming out in a couple weeks, actually, that's a prequel that tells a little bit more about. It's a mission, basically. It's not very deep. It's a shorter story, short novel, and it has Mac and Sanchez and the team. It's kind of a prequel to help set up book 2, so that will tell more. But I do see Mac's development over time, because in the story he struggles quite a bit.
Hey, Charles,
one of the
where can people pick up that prequel?
The prequel is going to be coming out. It'll be available on Amazon. I'm going to have Kindle Unlimited, Kindle, and then I'll have a paperback version, which can also be picked up on my website. as with Into the Darkness.
Perfect. We'll have to
So,
get a copy over here, and but
yeah,
to make sure you
there'll be.
tell the people where they can buy.
Yeah, well, you want to do that at the end?
No. I'm glad you're doing it now because I want
Okay.
to know.
Yeah.
Go pick it up
So,
on when's it coming out?
yeah, so I'm thinking, I don't have an exact date yet because it's in the kind of review process right now, but I'm thinking before Thanksgiving it'll be available, and we're going to do a big marketing push. We'll be sure to send one to Hayden so he gets a first look at it.
There you go.
And the paperback will be about 140 pages, so it'll be a quick read. We're going to have it on Amazon, Kindle Unlimited, because I'm doing the exclusive thing with Kindle Unlimited. But my website, I do autographed copies of the hardcover and paperbacks of both Into the Darkness and what's coming out. It's called Night Terror, is the prequel. It's a little hint scarier, a little more horror in this one. And that website is just charleshack.com, and you can get autographed books there with stickers. And I think I sent you the
You did.
the bro pack. So
Yeah.
hopefully,
Thank you.
yeah, you're welcome. So those are available on the website for anybody who might like some extras.
Okay,
Some swag.
back to Mac's story and what's in the future.
Yeah. So without giving any details away, because the book does have some twists and things I don't want to give away, but Mac ends up in sort of a difficult situation at the end, and he's got a bit of a breakdown. He goes through some hard things, and in book 2, he's going to be probably facing additional problems where he's got to deal with his how he loves his guys and cares for his people, and the struggle he has of trying to protect everybody. He's a little bit of a big brother to the team, and struggles with the inability to control everything. So that'll continue as the story unfolds, and I can't give away too much because book 2 opens up following on to some of the things that happen at the end of book 1, which we don't want to give away.
Fair enough.
That's really interesting. I can't wait to see the future of his story and the future of the series. There's another one of my questions was,
Yeah.
what does the future of the series look like going forward?
Yeah, so absolutely there'll be 3 books for sure, like in this trilogy following the story that unfolds in Into the Darkness. So Into the Darkness, book 2 is called Shrouded in Darkness, and book 3 will be titled Escaping the Darkness, and it all involves sort of a larger story arc, which is a little different for the thriller world as well, to have multi-book story arcs. There's not as much of that out there right now, more of what you see in fantasy books. And but the story will unfold to the larger. So in Into the Darkness, there's a problem where the princess is captured. They've got to find her. It unveils this larger conspiracy, which leads you into books 2 and 3. So 2 will not resolve the problem that's developed. It'll take till book 3 before that whole thing is resolved finally. But there's another mean, nasty group of aliens on their way into the story. You'll have a lot more for Hayden, who's finished the book. There's going to be a lot more Arthur Rust. There's a lot more of DJ and some of the other Space Warfare team guys, and we'll probably introduce there's a couple characters coming from the prequel that'll show up in book 2 that I know you'll enjoy as well.
Perfect. And as you answered that question, you've kind of brought up a few other questions.
Okay.
Another one of my question was, what role will, I believe it's pronounced Kumar and Arthur Rust, play in the future? What's in store for them in the next 2 books?
Yeah, I have to be vague. Those are hard questions. If this wasn't public, we could talk for hours about the intricacies of what's going on there. But
Right.
Arthur
Spoiler
Rust.
alert.
Yeah, spoiler alert. Plug your ears, everybody. So Arthur Rust is a character that's introduced early in the book, but he's not really seen and understood until later. He's kind of in the last quarter. And I love this character because he's really obnoxious, and he's violent, and he's got issues. And he and the other main antagonist, the larger conspiracy unfolds fairly quickly into book 2. And what you find out, if you remember, did you guys ever watch the TV show 24? I don't know if Hayden would have watched that, but
I
did.
I did not.
okay.
I
So
did.
in 24, there was a great thing they always did where the first 12 hours of the show, the first half of the season, you think they're solving the problem, but then at the end of that, it introduces like, oh, actually, there's a bigger bad guy that's out there who is really behind all this, and then it amps up the story. And I love the way 24 always had like 4 storylines going, and there was always a big reveal somewhere in the middle that unleashed the larger enemy. And in a lot of ways, that is the direction we're going. If I can be as vague as I am, Hayden's probably like, no, give me details.
Well,
I will tell you. I will tell you this though, Hayden. I should probably send you a message offline. It'll be exciting to you, but the prologue of book 2 should be pretty exciting to anybody that finished the book. And the first chapter opens up with Arthur Rust, and he's on a mission. So it just right back into the story.
Interesting. Really interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I also had to ask, since Sam unfortunately died during the book on the ambush, I had to ask, is his story really finished, or will he return in some way besides the prequel?
this sounds really spoilery.
It kind of is.
It's a lot of spoilery. Yeah.
Hint what you can.
Yeah, we'll just say that you'll see Sam barely see him in the prequel, and you can see him in a free short story that is available on my website. So anybody who goes to the website can sign up for the email list, get a free short story. It's like 6,000 word short story. It's the first part of a novella that will be written over time here. Beyond that, we'll just say that there are some exciting things coming in book 2 that I cannot talk about.
It's classified stuff, Hayden.
Yeah, sorry, Hayden, I'm killing you, man. But
Classified.
these are the questions that the readers want to know. That's for sure.
And they can't.
And they can't. Yeah. Yes,
Too
exactly.
bad.
Yeah. Put a. Yeah. Yeah. We should
Well,
probably put a spoiler alert on the on the show.
Yeah,
just
I'm gonna
so,
have to like just the title from the beginning episode.
Yes.
Number spoiler alerts.
Yeah.
and well, and my final question I had for you on other characters that could possibly return. I believe the Bone Rattlers were still in it by the end. Do you think they will return in the future as this greater threat kind of starts to show up? Will they be a tiny piece to the story or a bigger piece?
Yeah, that's I like that question. So actually, as a side note, the Bone Rattler characters, I don't know if you got that far, Jeff, when you read those early chapters, but the Bone Rattlers were created by my son, Ashton. So when I started this story years ago, I don't know if I put that in I can't remember if I put it in the letter, but when I started this book many years ago, I asked the kids, like, hey, my daughter, create this cool princess, and my boy, create these bad guys, and we'll just throw them together. And man, he knocked it out of the park. They're really cool characters. So they're virtually exterminated in the story, but there are others that appear very quickly, and they have a role in book 2, but it's small because they're more of like just a tool that is used to accomplish what the bad guys are trying to do. And they use the Bone Rattlers as sort of like these mercenary pirates, and they're sort of not beneficial to them anymore. So they tend to just fade into the background while other groups form up.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
How did you come up with the space warfare group, and where is it going in the future? Is it intended to expand and have some sub stories and kind of some spinoffs?
Yeah, that's a cool question. So The Space Warfare Group sounds a little bit like, SEAL Team 6, the Dev Gru, what is it, Warfare Development Group. There's a little wink towards them. It's sort of a mix between maybe SEALs and Delta Force. I put them specifically in the Army. They're not Navy, they're Army, and I intentionally avoided trying to tie directly to any special forces groups that exist today, because number one, they probably won't exist in the far future, but I also didn't want to make mistakes and in any way dishonor those amazing groups that I'm so fond of and read quite a bit about. So I developed them with the idea of what would it be like if you took something like Star Trek, and Star Trek had a group of Navy SEALs on the Enterprise, and they would drop down onto the planets in some sort of like high-tech Black Hawk and would fight aliens. And so that's kind of where it developed. And so coming up with that name, Space Warfare Group, it was kind of pull off of the Dev Gru idea. And I am slowly adding to. It's interesting because a group like that would be quite large. I don't know how many like SEALs there are in active duty, but I think there's hundreds, right? If we understand that right.
So.
If I understand that right. And so, right now in book 1, I've got like 8 guys or something, and it's 8 to 10, and it's got to be bigger than that. So in the short story that you can get on the website, there's actually 3 teams, and each team I think has 7 guys. There's the black team, red team, green team. They each have a leader, and Mac kind of runs the whole group as tactical lead. And I'm developing those guys, those other groups within Mac's team. So he kind of oversees everybody, but you have Sam in there, you have DJ, who's a major character in book 2, and then there's another character that I created for that short story who shows up in book 2. That is pretty cool already. So I'm expanding characters, and then there will be spin-off. I'm already envisioning a couple spin-offs with individual characters. So in the book, one of my favorite characters is Luis Sanchez. I don't know, Hayden, did you enjoy Sanchez?
Yeah, he wasn't a bad character, I don't think.
I have a feeling you either love him or you hate him.
He's all right.
Yeah. He's a lot of fun. So Sanchez is sort of like Mac's right-hand man in a lot of ways, but Sanchez has he's part-time idiot, part-time super soldier, and that's kind of fun to write. And so I'm planning some shorter like novellas and things that I'm considering them like these short missions where, hey, you just want a short read. Boom, here's this exciting adventure mission with characters you know and like, but it's not a big complex story. So I envision having like multiple of those, like kind of movie style, which is what this Night Terror novella is going to be. It'll be the first of those. Same characters, shorter stories, kind of out of sequence.
Very cool. I think Hayden's got another question teed up.
Sure.
I think I have a few more. My first question is, will this story eventually get put on Earth? Any other maybe mysterious planets we haven't seen before? I think I remember in the sequels of Star Wars, it was kind of similar to this story where it started as a pretty basic threat and it turned into a bigger mystery that unfolds at the end on other mysterious planets where you uncover the truth.
Yeah, good question on the involvement of Earth. So a lot of times in these far future space military books, a lot of times they either start on Earth and go out to fight aliens, or they have lost Earth and they are just out there. And what I've got is a group of 10 planets in what I call the United Planetary Government, which includes Earth. And at some point, I don't know if that'll occur in book 3 or just later on in another storyline, but at some point they'll go to Earth, and it's part of the story. But I've moved the entirety of the human government structure to a different planet that's more central to the whole community, which is complicated, and sometimes I regret doing that because it means I have to make up a bunch of stuff that doesn't exist.
So safe to say, if they go back to Earth, it's not going to be the Earth that we know. It'll be a little more chaotic.
It might be. I tend to have everything be, everything seems to be more advanced technology, not dystopian, more advanced. But maybe there's some aspects where Earth's been kind of used up, and so one of the key storylines or background of Mac, the main character, is that he was born on Earth as an orphan, and being Earthborn is kind of rare. And he entered the Army because he was an orphan. He had really no prospects, and being Earthborn, he's kind of got an accent, and people know him to be a little different because he comes from the old country in essence.
All right, Hayden.
Yes.
You're up.
Speaking of Mac, another question I had about him is at the end of the story, you see that his decision to go off on his own with a few other people in Sanchez ends up kind of looking like it's going to have consequences for it towards the end. Will those consequences be resolved in the future, or will they kind of like linger on throughout the story?
Yeah, so book 2, that's a great question, and framed very nicely. Spoiler free. Book 2 actually picks up 8 months after the last chapter in the book, the epilogue, and you find Mac living in the consequences of his actions. And there is a fairly quick resolve to that, but he's brought back into action in a new and different way to continue to investigate the conspiracy and get to the bottom of it, because he doesn't know who or why or what's happening. He just had the vision of the mustached man, which is Arthur Rust, and that's about all he has. And by vision, he saw him. He didn't have not like a dark angel, dark intercept vision.
Shout out to Andrews and Wilson right there.
Yeah, that's right.
Hayden, you got more?
I think I should think of a few more if you ask a question or two. I kind of have a few that I'm trying to think up of.
Okay. So,
yeah.
Charles, let's do this. What is your workload going to be like pumping all these books out? Because I know I'm writing books now, and just staying on top of one storyline is a struggle. But you're also in the ministry and trying to write books at the same time. What's the workload going to be like for you trying to juggle all of that?
Yeah, it's interesting because when you're writing and nobody knows you're writing, it's fun. You do it whenever you feel like it. And I was kind of like the Friday morning, Saturday morning. So one of the things with ministry, keep in mind, is Friday, Saturday is like my weekend. Sundays, basically big work day. So Friday, Saturday, I would be up early and writing, and it was fun, drink coffee, and I wasn't in any hurry. Well, now there has been a positive reaction to the book. There's been a good response, lots of sales and lots of interest, and that means book 2 needs to get written. So I've determined and committed myself to finish book 2, 100,000 words by New Year's Day. And it is fairly stressful. I'm writing about 1,000 words a day right now, from 6 a.m. to about 8 a.m. And then I get ready and head into the office. So it's a big workload. And on top of that, I've committed myself to editing the novella, which I wrote a couple months ago, the short story series. And then as soon as I finish the first draft of book 2, I'm going to revisit the political thriller where Mac came out of, which actually has a different protagonist, and it's modern day standard political thriller. That I want to revisit and possibly even finish that book by the summer, while book 2's in editing. So I'm kind of in like crazy writing mode, but while it's kind of in the flow, if I stay consistent, it seems to be working. But it is a lot. It is a lot. What's your writing routine looking like?
Well, Right now, I have paper edits. So I've got the whole 100,000 book, word book,
Okay.
and I printed it out and I went through it red ink.
Yeah.
Just to read it out loud, read some lines out to my wife, just so I can hear it, see if it flowed, makes sense. Marked it up with the red ink. Now I'm going back through it. I'm making those changes in Scrivener and applying those changes while at the same time looking forward into the second book because I have a plan for the first, second, and third,
Okay.
but the second and the third, as I change the first book a little bit, making it make more sense, it changes things second and third
Yeah.
idea. So for the better, I think it'll be a better
Yeah.
storyline, better story arc, and but I go back and find those inspirations, those little things like, ooh, I want this to happen, and I go back to the second book and I jot some notes. So unfortunately for me, like I got a chance to talk to Kyle Mills when I was at BoucherCon,
Oh,
and I just
awesome.
said, what do you do? How do you outline a book? And he was like, I basically write like a 25 to 30,000 page or
I hear that.
word outline. And then I
Yeah.
one day and I decided to write that chapter. I was like, you make it sound so easy.
I want to see one of those outlines actually.
Right?
I wish he needs to
words.
post one.
It's a
Yeah.
third
I don't
of a
even know
book.
what that looks like. Yeah.
So I was like, okay. So unfortunately for me, kind of do the same thing. I write an outline,
Yeah.
but instead of doing like a paragraph or two for like each chapter, I get into it and I'll start pressing on 800, 900 words,
Oh,
and I have to move on.
yeah.
So yeah, I try to outline a lot just to
Okay.
keep the ideas fresh. So when I was in the military, we always said less is more, but we always took more and did less. So I would, when I wrote performance reviews and awards packages, I always wanted a lot of information, and then I scaled it down to exactly what was needed. So I think I
Okay.
have a bad habit of that. So when I write
Mm,
details and stuff, I probably write. I probably got like same thing with Kyle Mills. I probably write too much, and then I have these massive outlines. So
yeah.
I try to write every week.
Okay.
Right now, not as much because again, I'm focused on making those edits and going
Yeah.
in. But I try to write every week. I've been waking up early and trying to hit it more in the evenings and
Yeah.
get that 1,000 to 2,000 words in.
Yeah, the editing process will take it out of you because it's just as intensive. I started because I've got multiple projects in the works. I'm splitting my days up, so I'll do like new writing in those mornings. I do really well in the morning. If I have a week where I've got extra stuff I need to do, sometimes I'll just pause everything for the week, and then I'll use like Sunday afternoons or certain times to do something else like the editing. That's been helpful to split it up. But I think I just don't want to over commit, but I also want to challenge myself to go quicker. So the 30,000 word novella, which is basically a Kyle Mills outline, I made a book in the same amount of time. I wrote that in about, I don't know, it was about 6 weeks probably, and then editing on top of that. And it wasn't crazy busy. I just sort of, did it in those mornings and it felt good. So I figure if I stay on track, I'm hoping to hit that deadline for the New Year's Day.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm at 26,000 words, book 2. I'm pretty excited about that actually.
Yeah. Hayden, you got anything else?
My final question, I may be just reaching a little bit in the story, but at
Yeah.
the beginning of the story, they're on their routine mission as always, as it says. It's just a routine mission as always, and the crew go to that base and they pick up intel or data from it, and then they blow up the base. Well, is that intel or data important in any way towards the future, or am I just reaching a little bit?
Good
Yeah.
question.
No. Yeah. No. Good question. And you never know with books like this how that would come back. In that particular case, I would say it's important to the war against the what I call the Krays, which are the big fish head aliens that are sort of insurgent terrorist type aliens. But it doesn't return to the story at all because it's sort of a mission as usual. And in book 2, the same kind of thing when I have some chapters with Rust, I have chapters with antagonists, I've got and then I have to introduce the space warfare group again, which is being led by DJ, and they are on a routine mission again, but it's going to be a little more complex, but it's still just a routine mission to show that everyday life of the space warfare group.
So that was kind of a yes and a no. Sounds
Yeah.
like it could come back. It might not. You never know. A mystery on here.
Yeah. You might have just given me a new idea. No, no, I have no intentions to bring that data back. In fact, the reason that this, you know, how the sausage is made kind of thing with writing books. So I wanted that every day in the life of the space warfare group. And so they're on this mission and they're doing this thing. Well, it didn't make any sense for them to fly to this planet, get off the spacecraft, storm the hill, fight the aliens just to blow up the towers. But it was a cool scene, but that's dumb. You just shoot it from the spaceship in space. Why would you ever go down there? So I had to have a reason why. This is the logic thing of like the reader is going to email you and tell you you're dumb for what you're doing. But yeah, like what are you talking about? They just shoot it from space. And like, well, that's a good point. So I gave them a reason why they had to be on the ground. They had to get their hands into the equipment, extract data that you could only do by being on the ground, and then it made the mission make sense to start the story, to introduce the group. So that's how that came about.
Interesting. I thought maybe that would come back in the future, but the way you talk about it seems like as if it was just an introduction to the characters to kind of get a feel for who they were.
Like that's right. You might have just given them an idea.
Yeah, you might have. When you never know with but yeah, so we have to introduce characters in ways that you get a feel for them, and I wanted the action start where they're hitting a mission and there's shooting and there's excitement and there's some banter, you know, it has all the elements of the team. But it had to be something quick that made sense. And that was a great way to introduce. I felt like it was a good mission to introduce.
All right, Charles, man, we've
we lost you. Oh, you're muted
there we
again.
go. Now I'm on.
Yeah.
All right, Charles, we've been going for a while now, man. I'm super grateful that you did this with us tonight and let Hayden come on and ask some questions. Obviously you got a new fan in him. Really enjoyed the book. Tell everybody where they can find you, more about the book's release date, so they can keep in touch, they can stay on track, and make sure they pick up these awesome new offerings.
Yeah, and before I do, Hayden, I'll make sure to get you a copy of Night Terror. We'll get it out to you. And if you want to email me, we can talk spoilers on what's coming. But I don't want to give too much away because then it'll ruin book 2 for you. But so you can find me on my website, charleshack.com. It's fairly simple, but there's a lot of stuff. There's a really cool trailer for the book on there. You can sign up for the short story there. Just sign up your email. You'll be on my email list. You get access to the free story with Mac and Sanchez and the team. And then I'm pretty active on Instagram. That's where we met, and active on Facebook, both under Charles Hack Books. You can find me there. And if you want to listen to some sermons, send me a message. I'll send you the link to the sermons.
Awesome. Charles, thank you again so much for doing it. Everybody needs to go out there and pick up In Darkness. Go subscribe to his newsletter. Get the newest news on the Space Warfare Group. It's this really cool book. You're a fan of Halo, Star Wars, Call of Duty, Black Hawk Down. This is a military space story that was really, really cool, which is why I handed it off to my son. Like, oh, he's going to dig this. And then the whole idea of him coming on the podcast came up. So again, Charles, thank you very much. You have an open invitation to come back on here. As you release stuff, just hit me up and we'll make it happen. And much appreciated on sending the book to Hayden.
Absolutely. It was a lot of fun. And I was going to tell you too, I love your theme music. You got the best podcast theme music going right now.
Appreciate it.
I love it. I'm like, let's play some more of that.
Yeah, I got a new intro for this new season that I'm doing.
Awesome. Okay,
It's a
cool.
little more mellow, but it's got a little bit more video to it, so I'm excited.
Cool. Okay, I look forward to seeing that. Yeah,
All right,
and
man.
nice meeting you guys in person. Hayden, thanks for all your support and great questions. I really enjoyed it.